It's great to see Chuck Freeland, lead pastor at Catalyst Vineyard, and it's so good for you to give us your time today, Chuck. Really appreciate it.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. One of the things that is happening is Chuck and the Catalyst Vineyard, they're really kind of moving forward in church planting and really inspirational leadership in what they're doing in Aberdeen, but also across the east of Scotland. Chuck, would you be able to tell us a little bit maybe about some of that vision, where that came from? In fact, maybe a little bit about yourself first, because I really should be asking you first before we start getting straight into the task.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think lots of people, when they hear my name, expect me to be American, and they'll be very disappointed now that I'm not American. So I was brought up in the southeast of England, and my parents called me Charles Edward Freeland when I was growing up. When I was born, and I didn't really love that. I was picked on at school for sounding like I was like a member of the royal family.
Yeah, so the school wasn't Eton then.
Well, yeah, exactly. So anyway, I'm Chuck. We live in Aberdeen, or just beside Aberdeen, and we've been leading the church since 2008. Over the course of that time, the church has grown, which has been lovely, and just the kindness of God in the life of our church. And as a result of that, we just ran out of space, and so we've faced all kinds of stresses with that, and just trying to figure out what the best way is to deal with that. And we looked at extending the building we had. We looked at a warehouse. We looked at a casino. I was really excited about the casino, but we just looked at loads of different venues, and in the end, there just wasn't one. And so we borrowed a building which was an apostolic church, a Pentecostal church building down the road, and we just said, can we just borrow this building as a kind of overflow, a temporary overflow? But actually, from the very first week, it was clear this is the Lord. And so whoever was preaching would just preach 10 o'clock in one building, and then run down the road and preach 11 o'clock. The 11 o'clock service down the road. And it was obvious from the first week. Gosh, we've stumbled across the Lord here, and it. I was welcomed on the door by people who I'd never met before, and they said, "Oh, welcome to Catalyst Vineyard. Is this your first time?" And I was like, "No, I'm sort of the pastor." And then there were people in the worship team. I didn't even know they played an instrument. And to be honest, they barely did play an instrument, but they were, they'd kind of seen it. There's a place for me here, and they'd kind of stepped up, rescued the guitar from under their bed. And then there were people serving tea and coffee at the end of the service who were kind of sitting on the back row, edging their way towards the back door. And then suddenly they'd seen, oh, there's a place for me. And we just realised, gosh, this would be a way to reach the whole of the northeast of Scotland with the gospel. Because once you're meeting 500 metres apart at different times, you could be meeting miles and miles apart. This is a way to bring church locally to where people live. And so over the course of the next, I don't know, what would that be now, 7 or 8 years, we're now a church that meets in 12 weekend, well, normally before lockdown, 12 weekend services in 8 different locations, from Lawrence Kirk, which is almost, well, it's probably slightly nearer to you than it is to me, and all the way up to Ellen and Inverurie in the north. And so that's been a wild journey. And then alongside that, just looking at other places in Scotland and saying, gosh, wouldn't it be lovely if we could start to see churches established in other places too? And so we've planted, it depends on how you count them, 6 or 7 churches in other parts of Scotland, Greenock and Inverness, Stirling, and I won't name them all because that's a dangerous game if I miss somebody out. But it's been really, really fun over the last few years.
Well, we're looking forward to welcoming you to Dundee whenever that arrives. So we're right behind.
I don't know when that'll be, but you never know.
Indeed. So it's But I don't think Dundee's ever had a vineyard that has really got off the ground properly. So it'd be
Right.
lovely to see you sometime.
Well, somebody needs to just come and learn what you did and then just do that. Yeah.
Yeah, quite. I could teach them plenty of mistakes, that's for sure. So part of that vision, I mean, one of the things that was publicized was, Chuck Freeland's apostolic vision for 20 churches by 2020. Is that right? Or was that the kind of
21 by 21?
21 by 21. That came from, was it?
I think it was a sense, like when we felt the Lord really asking us to turn up the gas on the church planting thing, we realized that if we didn't set a ridiculous goal, then we might plant 2 or 3. But if we set a goal that felt completely impossible, then that would cause us to think in a different way and structure in a different way. And it did ultimately. So we felt like the Lord give us this number 21, see if you can plant 21, and then we kind of went from there. And so that meant that we changed how we used our staff time. I used quite a lot of my own staff time to working towards that. We set up a leadership academy to try and draw as many people through that program as possible. There's a whole bunch of things that went into that. And I think, I don't know, will we plant 21 churches by the end of 2021? Well, it's not impossible, but it's nearly impossible. But we might plant 12 or 13, which we never would have done before. So I think it's just been a really, really helpful, ridiculous goal for us, really.
Well, I'm certainly excited and inspired by it. And when our team were talking, who should we do interviews with? Your name was at the top of the list, because actually the impact of that faith challenge that you guys have brought, creates waves through the church. So I want to thank you and commend you for your faith in expressing that and being willing to go public with it, because I can imagine that there will have been a little bit of kickback from some quarters, but I want to commend you and say, we're with heaven in cheering you on.
That's so kind. I wasn't aware that anyone had noticed, but
it's on the BBC.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. Blink and you miss it. I think we feel like it's a very strange state of affairs in Scotland right now, isn't it, Craig? The truth is that in 2002, they did the church census, and there were 573,000 Christians in Scotland worshipping on an average Sunday or something like that. And then when they redid that in 2016, that number had gone to 390,000. And that's literally a third of the church had disappeared since the start of the millennium. And also you can see that, with the church generally in Scotland, the statistics are all going in the wrong direction. So we're like, gosh, for the sake of our children and our grandchildren, there has to be something left. It's like an apocalypse is happening, and it breaks my heart. I pray every day for, all of the traditional denominations and all of that stuff, but something has to be left standing in 50, 60, 100 years time.
And what are you seeing, Chuck? Because I think you are seeing clearly growth in your church attendance and in church planting, but in terms of people coming to faith, what's your experience of that at the moment?
Well, it's really interesting at the moment, at this moment. I think this is the most outrageous opportunity for the gospel that we've ever known in our lifetimes is happening right now. I really believe that.
The most outrageous opportunity for the gospel in our lifetimes is happening right now. Okay, yeah. That's the heading.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, honestly, I believe it, because when you think about it, when we went online on the whatever it was, the middle of March, so did everyone else in the world, and all of the churches went online, but also my neighbours and my work colleagues and my friends and the people I go to the gym with and all of that, like everyone went online. And a quarter of the UK population of adults, that's according to a Tiffin survey, they checked out a church. A quarter of the UK population checked out a church and visited an online service. Like that number would normally be what? you know, attending a church in Scotland would be 7%, 8%. So suddenly there was a huge uptake in people visiting. And so it's like, gosh, why are they doing that? They're doing that because the whole world is being shaken. Yeah. And you know, all of the foundations that we've built our society on are being questioned, and people are you know, living with a level of anxiety and fear and stress that they've never lived with before, and that's driving, you know, what is it? I keep thinking of that phrase, there are no atheists in the trenches. Yeah. You know, it's like that, isn't it? Suddenly there are lots of people who are looking for the Lord and or looking for peace, asking big questions. And so our own experiences that we committed to making an opportunity for people to become Christians every week when we've done our live streams, and we've done 23 weeks or something like that of live streams. And in those 23, only 2 weeks have there not been people become Christians. So far it's like 133. It was 3 yesterday. Have become Christians. So it's like, this is wild. This is completely wild. Yeah. So I personally think it's only going in one direction, you know, because I think that it's now becoming clear that this is going on and on and on, and there aren't any simple answers, and we're not just going to revert back to life as it was. So I think, goodness me. Yeah, I think that the level of interest in eternal hope is only going to increase. And I just find it, I don't know about you, Craig, I find it inconceivable that the Lord wouldn't bring some kind of redemptive purpose out of this event, this global event.
Well, that's, I mean, certainly the message that we feel, that, you know, God is changing things around and moving us from a focus, from a, you know, church-centered focus to a kingdom-centered life, whereby we're all on the mission together, and actually we are seeing opportunity, like you talk about. That's what we're looking for. That's what we are seeing, the opportunity to get out there and to be kingdom people. So I think it's really exciting. It's really exciting for this part of Scotland, and I think our time's basically up, Chuck. But I really I'm excited for what God is doing in this part of Scotland, and I'm excited that there are churches that, you know, we can cheer each other on, and, you know, catch the vision and share information, share gifts. So I really want to thank you for the time that you've given us today. I would encourage people to look into the Catalyst Vineyard website and be able to see what's going on there.
Fantastic. It's really good. Thanks so much for having me.
It's been great, and really appreciate it. And we pray that God will bless all your church planting. We just hold that for you, that you will not just get to 21 by 21, but actually God will do something even above and beyond what your expectations are. I love the fact that you've stated a goal, and we are with you to see that goal exceeded.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Very good.